Hi everyone, and welcome to the Book Refuge. And I am doing a wrap-up part 1 today for January. So the time has finally come after almost 2 years of this channel where I just can't make an hour and a half long wrap-up. And I have read, so far this month, I've read 19 books. And part of that is because, as you'll see, I did a 24-hour readathon where I got through 5.5 books. I've had really good luck with everything. I've been on a reading high, and there's still 10 days of the month left, and I'll probably get through 3 or 4 more books. So and also all these books have been really great. I've had 2 DNFs so far, but I've had more 5 stars than anything else this month. And I don't know if it's just because I was reading a lot of romance or I've just really been into the stories I was reading, but so far I've had a lot of between 4 and 5 stars. And so I have a lot to say about these books. So I'm just going to go ahead and split it. I have the first 10 books that I'm talking about today. And then, more at the end of the month, I will put up the wrap up for the rest of everything. So that's just how we're going to do it today. In the second video, will tell you the total stats of everything, of like how many 5 stars and everything I have, because obviously I don't know that yet. But today we're just going to start, and we'll also do it chronologically. Quite a few of my other fellow booktubers do it that way too, because I usually go in order from my least favorite to the most favorite. And maybe I'll do that in the second one, but I'll just, the ones that I've already talked about, I will, just say I already talked about it. I don't know. This is a new format for me. I've done it before where I did a romance wrap up. However, over half of the books I read were romance, so that didn't really work either. So we're just going to go chronologically, starting with the books I read right at the beginning of the year until mid-month, and there's about 10 of those. And then I can talk a little more in depth because I have a lot to say about a lot of these books. So, all right, that's enough. Let's get going. I have my iced chai right here. I make it at home. It's so good, and it's way cheaper. But let's get started. So the first book that I actually finished it on New Year's Eve, is I read A Kingdom of Dreams by Judith McNaught. So this book came about in a couple different ways for me. One of my subscribers suggested it to me when I was asking for historical romance recommendations, as well as I follow this podcast called Fated Mates, which is so good. And this is the book they were supposed to be getting to in January, but I guess their schedule kind of changes a lot. But either way, I've read it now, so whenever they talk about it, I'll know what they're talking about. And this book is about a Scottish girl named Jennifer Merrick, and she has to get married to Royce Westmoreland, the Duke of Claymore, also called the Wolf, and he is English. So this is a story of a Scottish woman and an English duke, and she has to get married to him. And now the setup for this is very interesting. This is not a rom-com that I'm used to reading in historical romance. This is much deeper. Jennifer is only 17, and she has been staying at a convent for the last 2 years because she displeased her father. Her stepbrother made her look really stupid, and so her father basically exiled her to this convent. But now he needs her to marry someone to kind of help them in a conflict that they are in. So she has to marry Royce, and she's heard lots of horrible things about him, and it's just a very interesting dynamic. Like, I don't know how else to say it. There was a lot of things that I really questioned in this, like the women, her and her sister, they get kidnapped at the beginning of this by Royce. Nothing bad happens to them while they're kidnapped, but because of the problems she causes and actually some pretty dangerous things that she does trying to get away, which I understand, I know why she's trying to get away. He makes her sleep in his room. He doesn't do anything to her during that time, but to watch her, he makes her sleep in his room, and they are almost falling in love at one point, and there's just so much going on. I was really nervous because a lot of older historical romances I've read, they are really problematic in a lot of ways. And when you first start this book, there are so many problematic things. But as they grow to know each other, as they grow to love each other, a lot of those things get addressed. So the way he treats her, the things she says about him, the way their families are toward each other, those things get worked through. And I really appreciated that I was very nervous about it, but a lot of the things that worried me, they talked about them. So if you do pick this up, or maybe you've read it already, give it more time than you think you would, if you're willing to go into this. It's a bit, like I said, it's a bit heavier of a historical romance. It was really deep. It made me cry. Sorry, I'm not crying now. Something in my throat. And I ended up giving it a 4.5 stars. I really did enjoy it. I don't know when I'll continue the series. There definitely were some other relationships that got set up. I think the next one is called Someone to Watch Over Me. And this book, I actually wrote a couple notes in it when I was doing it because it was crazy. I think this was 1989. This book came out. So it's 31 years old, which is really cool. So that was my first read of the year. The next one I read was an e-arc of The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. So this book, I was so excited for. I love Tricia Levenseller's Pirate King, Siren Queen duology. I really loved the heroine in that, and this one had a very complex heroine as well. Her name is Alessandra, and she is the second daughter of this lord, and her sister had already tried to beguile the King of Shadows, who is this 19-year-old king. His parents have just been murdered recently, and his cabinet wants him to have a queen. And man, there's so many layers to this. It's hard. I want to give an overview without spoiling it. Okay, but anyway, so her plan is her sister now is happily married off, and so it's her opportunity to take a run at the king and get him to marry her. And so she rolls into court and she has this plan because Alessandra, she is a very empowered woman. We start the book, this is a YA, by the way, we start the book with her having a liaison with this man and basically kicking him out of her bed because he's getting too clingy. And I was like, whoa, how are we starting this book off? It's pretty PG-13 because it is YA. But I was like, who is this girl? And her goals are make the king fall in love with her, get him to marry her, and then kill him and be the queen. That is what her goals are. That is what you'll read on the back of the book when you pick it up. And it's enough to get a lot of people to read it. And I mean, this is a romance. That is the goal of it. But there are other people trying to kill the king. And so she has to get him to marry her and keep him alive long enough so that she can murder him and be the queen. And that's her plan. And yeah, it was fabulous. I gave this one 5 stars. Whew, it was so much fun. I really hope you give it a try. It is not trying to be more than it claims, but it also is very unique. Even though the tropes are very well trodden, and I couldn't understand Alessandra right away because this king hasn't done anything wrong. This isn't a case of needing revenge. This is a 19-year-old boy, basically, who's been thrust in to this role where he can't trust anyone because someone has killed his parents and he thinks it's someone on his, his cabinet, but he doesn't know who it is and he doesn't know, it's council, sorry, cabinet is what the president has, a council. And he doesn't know who to trust or how to do anything. But him and Alessandra have a connection and it's fun to watch them make a go of it. And yeah, and I did not predict who is actually after him, which was fun because I'm usually not surprised. So I gave this 5 stars. I really hope you'll give it a chance. I believe it comes out in February or March. Let me check. Yep, it comes out February 25th, so it comes out soon. You should get this. It was a lot of fun. The next 2 books I read, I have already talked about in several videos, and that is Filthy Vows and Twisted Marriage, and this is by Alessandra Tor. I gave both of these 4 stars. This is about a married couple that they've been together since college. He was going to be, I can't remember if it was baseball or football. I think it was football. And they're set up for this like star-studded career where he's going to be making tons of money and everything's going to work out. And then he gets injured. And so she has to have a job. She works in real estate, and they're a few years out from this incident happening, and they're dealing with kind of their marriage is maybe getting like a little stagnant. I don't know how else to say it. This was an erotic romance, and they decide to look into having a threesome or bringing other people into their marriage for different events, maybe, if that makes sense. There you go. And it was really good. And they have a really good relationship. And I guess this is a crossover of another of Alessandra Tor's series, which looks darker than this one was. This one, it makes it seem like it's really dark. It actually was pretty fun and sexy, and this couple really loves each other, and they're just discovering some new things that they like and deciding if they both like this. Maybe they don't. Maybe they shouldn't try this because it could break them up, but they're always very secure in their marriage. They're just trying to spice things up. So that's why I really liked it. There's no cheating in this story. There's no going behind each other's backs for it. They are honestly trying to figure it out together. There's never any, and they talk through everything. The communication in this book is amazing. And I find that like super sexy when people communicate well, whether it's like consent wise or we're having problems and we're talking about it. We're not just letting things fester. Like, I love that so much. And it makes me so happy because that's what I want for people. Like, I don't want to read stories where it doesn't work out. I don't know. I like happy ever after. And these people are in their happily ever after. They're just figuring a few things out. So I really, really enjoyed this series, and I hope you give it a try too. It's just a duology. It was really good. Next, I read my lovely lady, hasedera, and I read Do You Want to Start a Scandal? And I read this for Romanceopoly. The prompt that is read a historical romance with a title that is 4 words or longer, and that would be Do You Want to Start a Scandal? This book is a crossover between Spindle Cove and Castles Ever After. More of Spindle Cove because nobody is getting a castle in this one like they do in the other ones. So this one is about Charlotte and what's his name? Pierce, who Pierce is the Duke from Say Yes to the Marquess, that heroine was supposed to marry Pierce, but he's a spy for his country, and so he was engaged to her for like 8 years and never pushed forward with their marriage, and so she was made a joke of. Anyway, that's who he is. He's now back, and this girl Charlotte, her mother is trying to get her married off. And this was also an age gap. It was really cute because I think she's only like 20 and he's like 32 or something, which I don't always point out age gaps in historical romance because I don't know, because it's not like, they're all like that in historical romance. They're all age gaps, right? But in this one, it gets brought up a lot. So it obviously is a big deal to Pierce that he's so much older than her and he doesn't want to be all these things. But anyway, the setup is that Charlotte is worried about Pierce, that her mother is going to force her at him. So she comes to warn him that her mother may try to set them up. And in doing so, they get caught in a room together and they have to stand behind this curtain because this couple has sex in the room with them. And then that couple leaves, and then they get caught trying to leave after the couple. So now they are betrothed. And now Charlotte, she just does not want to make Pierce have to marry her. And so she is determined to find out who the couple is. And so she goes on a little investigative thing, and Pierce seems to know a little something about subterfuge, I don't know how to say that word, because he's a spy. And he decides that maybe he doesn't want her to find out who it really is because he loves her. So this was so cute. I gave it 5 stars. Do I give all of Tessa's books 5 stars? maybe I do. But it was really nice to see Pierce get a happy ending because he is such a good man and he missed out on a really great woman in the last one to his brother. This was also really beautiful because Pierce loves his brother so much, and that relationship is a little bit broken still because of Pierce not being able to tell his brother what he did for a job and why he was gone so long. So they're still kind of like building their relationship back up. And I love that. I love brothers and I love family stuff. So any of that stuff in books just gives me the happy feels. Next, I read The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. That's how I've heard it pronounced. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anyone. But look at this name. I'm as white as you can possibly be. And I know Polish is also white, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm as American as possible, and I don't know how to pronounce random Z's and J's and whatever, but I'm sure it's a beautiful, beautiful name when pronounced in Polish. So this is the introduction to The Witcher. I watched The Witcher TV show twice over Christmas break. It was amazing. I loved it. And I want to get into the series, as you can like see over here. I have the other ones waiting. This was good. I can see why a lot of people struggle through it because it's a lot of different short stories kind of showing you who Geralt is. Geralt of Rivia, he is a witcher, which means he destroys monsters that plague the world, but sometimes the monsters are people and not monsters. And so Geralt, as far as I can tell, he's kind of healing at this like monastery-esque place, this like retreat place. And while he's healing there, we like hear these different stories about how he's met different people, and particularly when he meets Yennefer. And it was good. Some of the stories were really strong. Some of the other ones I skimmed through. And I know there's one other, like the Sword of Destiny also has the short stories in it. So I want to read that soon. That one I do have over here, The Tales of the Witcher. So hopefully I get to that soon. But it was just a 3.5 for me. I'm not giving up by any means, but I am looking forward to getting to the main stories of the titles of the story, whatever. So this wasn't my favorite, but it was exciting. He's a lot more talkative in the books than I was expecting based on the TV show. So that was cool. Wasn't expecting that. Next, my first DNF of the month was Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This was hard to DNF. However, in our reading group on my Discord, only 2 people finished the book. Almost everyone else DNF'd it. Ugh. The dragon to me is just a jerk. And I don't mind reading about jerks. You know this. I've read plenty of them before. But I also didn't see any good in him at all up to the point I got. And I read about up to 150 pages. And he's just a jerk. And I don't even want to talk about this book because I have more fun things to talk about. But I wasn't really a fan. And I know that this like turned towards a romance later on, and the way that he treated Agnieszka, is that how you say it? Agnieszka, I just was not here for it at all. I feel like I've seen this story done before, and I've seen it done in a way where I really, really would have liked the dragon character. And in this one, I'm not. And meh. I definitely want to try Spinning Silver though, and I hope that that one is better, but I just couldn't do it. I was on such a reading high. I can't let these DNFs drag me down because I am so happy how much I've been reading. It has been so much fun to just turn the TV off and enjoy reading and diving into these worlds. I don't got time for books that it's a pain in the ass to read. So, sorry. All right, next, I read another Ia arc. I was proud of myself. I got through some arcs this month. And I read Firecracker by Kelly Jamieson. This is a contemporary, is it a new adult? I think it's supposed to be contemporary new adult romance. This one, I gave 4 stars. It was okay. It was kind of predictable. It's about this woman who, her husband has committed suicide. So trigger warnings for that. And she really blames herself for not understanding what was wrong with him. And he also left her in quite a bit of debt, so she doesn't really have anything. So she has to move back with her family. In fact, her brother owns a apartment complex, or like this condo complex. And so she is living in one of the apartments that's being renovated, and he's giving her free rent while she gets back on her feet. She starts working at a diner. And one of his other tenants who is helping him refurbish it, I think his name is Tyler. I'm sorry, I didn't write down the names for this one, so I can't remember. But he is a firefighter, and that's why it's called Firecracker, and they immediately have some heat together. They knew each other when they were young, and so she remembers him as kind of being, you know, this scrawny punk that was her brother's friend when they were young, and it was pretty spicy. It was pretty fun. She's not looking for anything serious though, because her husband just died like 6 months ago. And so it's one of those where you're kind of convincing the other person that it's worth having a go of things after they've been heartbroken. So it was pretty fun. It was 4 stars. That book comes out in February, I believe. And I think it'll be on Kindle Unlimited, so you'll be able to get it there when it comes out. Next, we get to talk about my baby. And that's The Fiery Cross by Diana Gabaldon. As always, there will be a full, detailed, spoilery book chat that's coming out. It is coming out on February 15th, so it comes out the same day that season 5 starts. Oh God, I'm so excited. All right, this is 5 stars. That's not a surprise. I, as always, was so into this book. This one spans almost 2 years of time. It starts right where Drums of Autumn leaves off with The Gathering. I'm not getting into too many details with this, but things that I loved most were new relationships forming, and not the romantic ones like, I don't want to spoil anything, but other kinds of familial relationships developing between people, really growing to understand people, coming to realize we were wrong about certain people. Really just a family dynamic is what kills me. Like, oh, I cry so many times watching, I can say this, Jamie and Claire's relationship deepening and maturing, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's wonderful. If you're not reading the Outlander series, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there is so much and so deep that goes on, and I cannot wait to start the next book. It actually was physically painful to wait, but I read this one. This was the fastest read so far, mostly because I had the time. Like, I was stuck at home a lot, and I was sick a lot at the beginning of January. Oh, it was such a pain. But I read this in 7 days, and this is the biggest one so far, and I read it the fastest, and it was just so good. And I took so many notes as always, and I'm just having a wonderful time with it. Such a wonderful time. So yeah, read Outlander, folks. Don't know how many other ways I can say that. Next was my second DNF of the month. And this one hurt me to DNF. I DNF'd What I Did for the Duke by Julie Ann Long. So I found this book by looking up age gap romances, and this one came up. And since it was a historical romance, and like I said, like, this one was an age gap, but this didn't come up as being one. Even though, I mean, the age gap is about the same, and they don't even talk about it as much in this one. Like, this one, the hero is actually like, I'm too old for you, which is funny. In a historical romance, anyway. This one is about Alexander and Genevieve. And Alexander, he had his fiance basically stolen by Genevieve's brother. Genevieve's brother is sleeping with Alexander's fiance, and he kind of ruins everything. And instead of telling on him, Alexander keeps it a secret, and he vows to get revenge in a really stupid way by making Genevieve fall in love with him, taking her virtue, and leaving her. Oh boy. I hate that trope. I hate that, like, that a woman is like used for revenge and it's the hero. Like, I've seen that done where it would be the villain doing that. And Also, I didn't like him. Like, it would have been one thing if maybe he's misguided, which I know is supposed to be the point. Like, he's supposed to change his mind about it, and I'm sure that's what happens. But I just found that he would do that to this, like, sweet girl so despicable that I just couldn't forgive him. And this may be, like, one of the very few historical romances I've DNF'd. Like, The Flame and the Flower is, like, the only other one I've DNF'd. And that one had tons of rape in it. So, and also she is pining after someone else. So she has this like unrequited love for her best guy friend. And I don't know. It was just really disappointing because I was very excited for this book. And then I started reading it and I was like, ooh, you're an ass. So I had to DNF it, which was sad. All right, just 2 more to talk about here. Then I read the Mia and Coram Chronicle, or like the Mia and Coram books in the Coram Chronicles. That is, say that 5 times fast. And these are by Anna Zares. So this is an alien invasion trilogy, and I guess the Coram Chronicles are written by multiple authors, and they have different stories taking place in this universe where these aliens who are actually our genealogical predecessors, they are better put together than us. They actually like made humans come about somehow. I don't understand that part of it. Maybe another book explains it more than this series did. But 5 years ago, the Krynars came to Earth because their home planet is going to start like dying, and so they want to establish themselves on Earth. And they kind of see themselves as above humans. The humans kind of give them a wide berth, let them do whatever they want. They try to stay out of their way. There's also rumors that the Krynar, the Ks is what they call them, that the Ks are vampires, that they need to suck blood to survive, which I guess used to be true, but now it's more of like a pleasure device, isn't it always? How is sucking blood pleasure? I don't get it. Whatever. I mean, I love vampires. I do. But when it's not for life-sustaining purposes, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Anyway, whatever. So the way that this one starts is we have Coram, who is walking through the park one day, and he bumps into Anna. And Anna is this young girl in college. Aren't they always? Isn't Anna always a young girl in college? You know. And he immediately, like, realizes that she's supposed to be his mate. So this is a fated mate situation. However, this isn't a feeling that Anna has as well. Besides being sexually attracted to him, she in no way wants any part of being in a relationship with this alien. No desire at all. And he begins to pursue her and be kind of bossy, but not in a Christian way type of way. It's hard to explain because with some things, he'll be so understanding to her and say, you're just a different, like, than I, you're so young, you don't understand, but like the connection we have is 1 in a billion, and we'd be fools to walk away from it. But she says no, and she says no a lot, and he basically is like, I'm smarter than you, stronger than you, and more evolved than you, and I say it's happening, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you can either enjoy it or suffer through it, and I'll make your body like it. And I say this with such disdain, but I read all 3 of them. I gave them all 3 stars, but I couldn't stop reading. And Anna Zares, she effing does this to me, guys, because I did the same thing with the Twist Me trilogy, which was kind of the same thing, except that Coram was nicer, and he eventually comes to realize what he did was basically kidnap her, and he changes over time and actually wants to like marry her and not keep her as a sex slave, which is kind of what he was threatening to do. And if she wouldn't willingly come back to him, then he would like lock her up and keep her. And I don't know. It was freaking fascinating because I wanted to see where it goes, and they were really easy to get through. And like the series, I got it on sale for like $3.99 for all 3 books in a pack, and that's why I bought it. And so I think I mostly kept reading it because I had already bought all 3 of them. But I don't know. So I gave those 3 stars. It was actually my like lowest rated, but I still like liked it, but I probably wouldn't, like, I'm not recommending it to you unless you like it. It's the same way I feel about the Twist Me trilogy. Like, I read it and obviously I enjoyed it a little bit or I wouldn't have finished it, but I don't recommend it to you if the things I said don't sound intriguing. Like, go in under no illusion. Like, you are going to see dubious consent and you're going to be annoyed and you're going to be really frustrated about some things. So don't say I didn't warn you if you're going to try it. But if you are okay with kind of those things and you want to go on the ride, there you go. So the last one I'm going to talk about in this half is going to be Ruined by Amy Tintera. And this was, I picked this from my TBR game as a series that I want to start this year on my trilogies, because I have a ton of trilogies that I've bought over the past year and a half I've been doing Booktube that I haven't got to them yet. And this was a book that I had heard Murphy talk about, and I'd been interested because I'd read Amy Tintera's Reboot duology, and I liked it a fair amount. And so this trilogy, and by the way, the details on this book are like so hard to see because it's silver, but it has this beautiful like backing to it, and I love it. So this series is about this girl named Emelina, and in the beginning of this book, she kills this Princess Mary who had killed her father so that Princess Mary could get engaged to Prince Cass. Is it Cassius or Cass? Casimir. We call him Cass. And Emelina wants revenge on Casimir's family. So she murders Princess Mary in the first chapter of this book, assumes her identity, and her and her guard infiltrate Casimir's kingdom. She gets married to Casimir and then goes about her plan to kill his parents, and him is her plan. But none of that, ever goes as smooth as you think. And there are a lot of things that come into place. This is an enemies to lovers where one of the lovers doesn't know that they're an enemy. And I love this so much because this is a case again where the tropes are pretty clear. Everything seems like it'll be super predictable. And some of it is and some of it isn't. And this is another series where I really cannot wait to dive into the rest of it. And I will be making it happen as soon as I can with all my other obligations that I have. Because I really liked where this went. I really believed how Emelina falls for Casimir. The guilt she feels that she's falling for someone who thinks they're falling for Princess Mary and not for Emelina. And the way that Casimir's family, so the Ruined actually refers to Emelina's people. They're called the Ruined because their kingdom was called Ruin, and all of the Ruined have different abilities, which are not totally described. Like, they kind of all have a different one, like they are telekinetic or they have fire, but like have all these different ones. And Casimir's kingdom, let's see what it's called so I can stop calling it that. Lyra, the kingdom of Lyra. They kill every Ruined they find on sight. No trial, no reason. They have powers and we don't, and we're killing them. And there are these different plants that like render them powerless, and different weapons they use against them to get them. And Casimir, he doesn't think it's right that they're just killing them all. And so that's what Emelina starts to see, that, well, maybe we don't have to kill Cass because he may be sympathetic to us, but I came here to kill his parents, and this is kind of a sticky situation, and oh no, I'm having feelings for him, and I'm supposed to kill him, and and it's all those things you'd expect. But it just had a little edge of more for me, and that's what I love in a YA. I love when I know what I'm getting in for. Like, this is an enemies to lovers revenge story. I know what I'm getting in. And so it's a really quick read, but then it will surprise you with those things. Also, this is very brutal. Amy Tintera, I know that about her from reading the Reboot series. She doesn't pull her punches. She hurts you. And she's not afraid to spill blood. And she's not afraid to twist the knife in you. And I really love that in a YA. It has the sensibilities of an adult fantasy, but with the ease of read of a YA. So I gave this, I think I gave it 4.5 stars. Let us check. Yes, I gave this 4.5 stars. The half star is knocked because the first half was just, because it's so predictable, you find yourself like speeding through it more, but about like midway is where it started to like veer in the places that I was not expecting it to go. And the other books I think are called Avenged and Allied, and I cannot wait to read them. So that is my last one I will be reviewing in this. So, and look at that. We kept it at about like a half hour instead of, this would have been an hour and a half, I tell you. And I'm not even done reading for the month. So if you want to know any more about these books, feel free to message me. I would love to talk about them if you've read any of them, if you have any questions. I usually try to do detailed Goodreads, especially for the books I really liked. I've been trying to do that more, or if I like didn't like a book, I've been trying to get better at that. All of my links are always down in the subscription. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. I put up new videos 4 to 5 times a week. So make sure to hit that bell so you get notified when I upload. And thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see some more of these videos, you can do it right now. Bye.